As soon as I announced my administration's plan for student debt, they started attacking it, even though I ran on it and everybody knew what I was going to do. Their outrage is just simply wrong. And I might add, I don't want to be too political here, but hypocritical. Ted Cruz, the senator from Texas, said, you're a bunch of slackers. He says, it's for slackers who don't deserve relief. Who in God's name do these guys think they are? And folks, despite what Republican officials say, we can afford the student loan program. Guess what? Because of our historic, we had a very different plan, a very different reduction for all Republicans who voted against this. And they opposed the Inflation Reduction Act. Every single one voted against it, even though some I know were for it. Everyone voted for it, against it. And this year, under the leadership of the Democrats in Congress, and a little help from me, the deficit fell $1.4 trillion. Trillion. The largest one-year drop in the history of the United States of America. And we cut the federal deficit in half this year. We cut it in half. And this follows last year's historic drop in the deficit of $350 billion reduced last year. I know it's been a rough few years for hardworking Americans. A lot of families, things are still really tough, but they're bright spots. So we're making real progress. And by the way, a lot of it's just going to kick in beginning January because we passed this profound legislation on whether it's dealing with the environment or for example, it's estimated that what we did on the environment, we passed legislation providing $368 billion and help to deal with global warming. Well, guess what? It's estimated that that's going to save just in what's available to people for their homes to deal with weatherizing their homes, solar panel, a whole range of things. It's estimated it's going to save the average family American at least $500 a year. And it's going to save the environment. There's nothing beyond our capacity. And I mean it. We got to remember who we are. I spent more time with Xi Jinping of China than any world leader has. When I was vice president and when I was out of the office for 4 years when I was a professor and then now as president. But that's not all. We're relieving student debt. We're also resuming student loan payments that are paused, are going to start paying their loans again. But guess what? That means billions of dollars a year are going to start coming back in the Treasury. But my administration has a plan, economically responsible course. 2 years ago, perhaps many of you voted for your first election or volunteered in your first election. You understood the choice and the stakes. Since then, with your help and the help of the Democratic members of Congress here in New Mexico, we've delivered enormous progress for the nation. People are still hurting with inflation. You know, my administration is working to provide up to $10,000 in student debt relief and up to $20,000 if the person seeking the relief received a Pell Grant. Fill out your name, your social security number, your date of birth, and contact information. No forms to upload, no special login to remember. It's available in English and Spanish. It's on desktop and mobile. It takes less than 5 minutes to do it. And if you need additional information, we'll follow up with you. This is a game changer for so many people. We're hearing from people all over the country about how easy it is to apply. Close to 26 million Americans have already applied. In total, more than 40 million Americans stand to benefit from this relief. By the end of this week, the Department of Education will have approved applications of 16 million Americans and sent the necessary paperwork to student loan servicers. And the last step before the 16 million Americans can have their loan discharged. That's 16 million people who will be hearing from the Department of Education that they've been approved and who should be seeing relief in the coming days. But it's temporarily on hold. Why? Well, because Republican members of the Congress and Republican governors are doing everything they can, including taking us to court to deny the relief and even to their own constituents. My son, Beau Biden, he went to 2 universities. He went to the University of Pennsylvania and Syracuse Law School. He ended up with a debt because I had the dubious distinction of being listed as the poorest man in Congress. I shouldn't say it, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I got a call when I'd be away campaigning for somebody, I'd call my wife in the morning before she took off to school, see how things were. And I called her one morning. I was up in the state of Vermont campaigning for Pat Leahy. And I said, "Hi, honey, how are you?" She said, "Fine." Well, you know, that's a good start. And she said, "Did you read today's paper?" True story. "Did you read today's paper?" Meaning the local Wilmington papers, Wilmington, Delaware. I said, "No, honey, I didn't see it." She said, "Headline, front page, top of the fold, Biden, poorest man in Congress. Is that true?" Well, I didn't think you were supposed to make money when you were in Congress. But at any rate, and I didn't feel poor. No, by the way, I got elected when I was 29. I had no income. I had a little. I was just starting my law practice. But I had a good salary as a senator. I thought that was just fine. But at any rate, we've worked, as they say, hand in glove because we agree on so much. And Senator Ben Ray Lujan, so much of the progress we've made has been because of you, man. You're a great champion of the people of this state. And I want to say, Teresa, you're good. I'll tell you what, man, I could listen to you all day. Seriously, you're really, really, really good. And we're in your district, right? Or we just... Okay, well, okay. Well, well, I want to tell you, the district we're in is pretty good too. I can tell you lack enthusiasm, Congresswoman, and it's really it's contagious. You know, New Mexico's lucky to have you, for real. And the thing I really, well, I shouldn't go on. There's enthusiasm. It's one thing to be for something, another thing to be a champion of it. And Melanie, you're filling big shoes taking over for Secretary Holland, who rode down from Washington with me. She never lets me come to New Mexico unless she can oversee it.